Hello, mates, and welcome to my next video. Now, yes, this video was pretty much inspired completely by my top 15 favorite sequels video. And also it was somewhat inspired by the Child's Play video that I did. And of course, when I put the remake of the Child's Play series at my number one. Now, oh my God, Jesus, Sean, you're going to end up with diabetes by the time you're 30. Let me talk about remakes for a minute. Now, many people say that that Hollywood has run out of ideas, and there's no original ideas being put out nowadays, and because of that, the film industry is suffering because of that reason. So Hollywood just seems to think, or people just seems to think, Hollywood, let's just remake everything and update it for a modern audience. Everybody is so negative about remakes nowadays, and it's actually, for me, really annoying, because I don't really... Okay, there are bad remakes, but I have noticed, me, of course, being part of the film community, I've noticed that whenever there's a remake announced, 95% of the time, the instant reaction is negativity. People just say, oh, the original's a classic, just leave it alone. Why bother remaking it? To which in some cases I will say, yes, it's pointless. Like in 2008, there was the film called The Martyrs, which was apparently a very fucking brutal ass foreign horror movie. And like 2 or 3 years later, it got a remake. That's pointless, because the movie's not even a decade old and you're remaking the film. So that, in that case, it's unnecessary. And then there are, of course, other bad remakes, like the remake of Psycho, which was literally a shot-for-shot copy of the original Psycho from 1960. The only thing that was different is that instead of... What's her name? Oh, crap, what's her name? Marion Crane stealing $40,000. The 2019 remake is pointless. It's apparently shot for shot. Of Child's Play, whoever you heard that from is an idiot, because the remake of Child's Play is very different from the original Child's Play. But the only thing different about the remakes of Psycho is that in the 90s version, instead of Marion Crane stealing $40,000 in the original, in that case, yeah, from what I've heard. Well, I don't know. I don't know about that, because the first Lion King is an hour and 29 minutes, but the remake is an hour and 58 minutes. So they had to have added some things to it. Anyway, I'm getting off track. Though I am looking forward to the Lion King remake. I'm not gonna lie. Yeah. Instead of stealing $40,000, Marion Crane in the remake steals $400,000. And of course, it's in color. I agree with that. Lion King is a cash grab. I do agree with that. But it does look like a good movie. And of course, you have a different cast. You have Anne Heche playing Marion Crane. Well, spoilers, King Kong 05 is on my list, but it's not number one. Actually, I think you guys will be surprised where King Kong 05 is on my list. What was I talking about? Oh yeah, you have Anne Heche as Marion Crane. You have Julianne Moore as her sister. You have Vince Vaughn as Norman Bates. You have William H. Macy as the inspector. You have Viggo Mortensen as Sam Loomis. Surprisingly, the 90s remake of Psycho has a pretty decent cast, but it was a shot-for-shot remake, and it was pointless. It was fucking pointless. Cabin Fever did this too. Cabin Fever, the original, came out in 2002, whereas the remake came out in 2016, which that one was also pretty pointless too. You're only 14 years after your original, and you're gonna remake it. Why? That's better than the Martyrs remake, but still. But that right there, what Smitinator is doing right now, that seems to be the general consensus on remakes for modern audiences nowadays. Is they just say fuck remakes, fuck remakes. Just stick with the original. Why remake it? Um, I'm just gonna go out there and say that I do not think that remakes are inherently a bad idea. It just all depends on how you do it. There are fantastic. I don't really consider Fant Four Stick a remake. I just think that's another Fantastic Four movie. But I have heard that movie is bad. Um, I do think that there are a lot more good remakes out there than people give remakes credit for. And I'll admit, some of my favorite movies of all time are remakes. Um, I think a remake is a good idea if you have an original movie that has a lot of potential. And yeah, remakes and reboots are two different things in my opinion, though they also can be both, but um, they are two separate things. Um, if you have a concept that has a lot of potential, but it was still held back for whatever reason, maybe the technology wasn't around at the time, or maybe it just had a low budget and it has a lot of potential, but it would have done a lot better if it had a bigger budget. Dawn of the Dead is on my list, Sean, but it's not number one. Actually, you guys will be surprised what my number one favorite is. Um, or if you have a movie that is legitimately bad, or it's like a cult classic, it's one of those so bad it's good movies. You take that concept and then you remake it with a bigger budget, better writing, and just better all around. Then a remake is perfectly fine. Hang on. But I don't inherently think remakes are a bad idea, though there are bad ones, like remake of Psycho, for example. Let's see, what are some other bad remakes? The remake of The Hitcher, that one wasn't very good. The remake of April Fool's Day, that one was pretty insufferable. Let's see, what's some bad remakes? While I do like these movies, I do think I do like this movie, but I do agree it's a terrible remake of its film. The 2007 remake of Day of the Dead. I enjoy that movie because it's one of my guilty pleasure movies. But as a remake, oh yeah, the remake of Total Recall, that was trash. That was pointless. But the 2008 remake of Day of the Dead, that was not a good remake. I enjoy it for what it is, but as a remake of Day of the Dead, it is terrible. Um, let's see, what are some others? The 2006 remake of Night of the Living Dead, the one in 3D, that one was pretty bad. Um, hang on, let me give you some other examples. Well, I don't like the original movie, but I do agree that the Wicker Man remake was also pretty damn terrible. Let's see. The Nightmare on Elm Street remake is pretty damn flawed. The Omen remake is fucking terrible because it's just a shot for shot remake, shot for shot copy. So there are bad remakes out there. Smitty, I haven't even started the list, so you're fine. The Wicker Man remake is bad, but it's also hilariously bad. But there are bad remakes out there, but I also do think there are a lot of really good remakes out there. So I, of course, will be getting into my top 15 favorite remakes. I wish I could have had a guest for this. Maybe I can have Shawnee Boy on if he's not busy, but if you can whip up a list in the next 10 minutes or so, you can jump on, but if not, it's cool. So yeah, I will be going through my list of top 15 favorite remakes. Now, you will be hearing me say this a lot, that I do think that this version is better than the original. This is not me necessarily shitting on the original that they are remakes of. But I am coming out to say that I do think these are better versions of their original movie. And of course, this is just my opinion. These are completely my opinion. If you guys disagree with it, whatever. Don't care. Sorry. If you agree, that's awesome. If you're going to be nasty about it, if you disagree, fuck you. So here we go. My top 15 favorite remakes. Starting with number 15. This one is a little debatable. I do realize that, but I classify this as a remake, and I think it's one of the best remakes ever made. It is technically a reimagining of a show, and that is the 1993 version of The Fugitive, starring Harrison Ford. I didn't really expect much going into this movie. I just knew that it was a reimagining of a show. But goddamn, The Fugitive is a damn fine movie. I'm gonna go out and say that I think The Fugitive is Harrison Ford's best movie. Of course, he's done a lot of really good movies, but of all the movies that I've seen with Harrison Ford in it, I love him as Han Solo. I love him as Indiana Jones. But damn, I legitimately do think The Fugitive is Harrison Ford's best movie. And I also think it blows the show completely out of the universe. I tried to watch the show. It was so 60s and so dated and quite frankly so boring. I couldn't do it. I honestly could not do it. I thought it was so boring. Yeah, The Fugitive from 1993. It's Harrison Ford's best movie, and I think it's one of the best remakes ever made, and it's a damn fine film. Coming in at number 14 is Piranha 3D. I have seen the original Piranha. Wasn't really all that impressed. It's very 70s, and it stinks of being a Roger Corman movie, and it really stinks of being a Jaws ripoff. But for what it is, I just kind of think it's pure 70s cheese. And it's kind of fun, but I wasn't really all that impressed with the film. So I also do think I think that was a film that would have made good for a remake. And Eli Roth, at least I think that's who did it. Oh no, it's Alexandra Aja. Never mind. Damn, that explains a lot. Okay, well, Alexandra Aja's remake of Piranha 3D. I thought it was Eli Roth. Why did I think that? Wow, wow. Piranha 3D. Yes, it caters to the 3D gimmick, but I actually think it's a damn fine movie. If you go into this movie thinking that it's some kind of Oscar-winning contending masterpiece, you're really missing the forest for the trees. It takes the fun, silly idea of killer piranhas going on a rampage, bumps up the gore, bumps up the tits, bumps up the carnage and bumps up the chaos. And holy fuck, does it turn Piranha 3D into one hell of an entertaining movie. I have not seen the sequel, Piranha Double D, I think that's what it was called. Double D cup tits. But I heard that one was pretty stupid. But I love Alexandra Aja's remake of Piranha. It's stupid, but it's so much fun. It's so entertaining. There's so much carnage. There's so much blood. All you got to do is just sit back and watch the carnage unfold. I love it. I think it's infinitely better than the original Piranha. There's going to be a lot of horror remakes on this list too, by the way. So coming in at number 13 is the 1988 remake of The Blob. Not really a fan of the original Blob. I can see the charm, I can see the appeal, and I can see why it's such a cult classic. I'm not really a Steve McQueen fan. I mean, it's unfortunate what happened to Steve McQueen. It's unfortunate that he died so early. But the original Blob just doesn't really do much for me. But the remake, on the other hand, this is something I'm a big fan of. Is if you have a movie that's kind of campy and that in concept wise it's gruesome, but it doesn't really come across as that. But then you take that idea and then give it the gruesome twist. I love it when movies do that. And The Blob is certainly one of those examples where it goes in that direction. The Blob actually did kind of scare me when I first saw it, because the actual organism in The Blob looks like something that I would absolutely hate to contend with. Even though it's defeating it is as simple as getting a fire extinguisher to get it the fuck away from you. But the special effects are fantastic. I love the 80s-ness of the film. Whereas the original Blob stinks of being a 50s movie, the 88 remake of The Blob stinks of being an 80s movie, and I actually think that's for the better. I think the effects are 100 times better than they were in the original Blob. A mix of practical miniatures and stop motion. I'm a big fan of stop motion. The gore is fantastic. It's disturbing how good the gore is in the 88 remake of The Blob. The characters are kind of fun. They're nothing special, but the characters in the original Blob weren't nothing special either. I'm sorry. I know there's a lot of Steve McQueen fans out there, but I'm not one of them. I wish it got a sequel. I really, really wish that the 88 remake got a sequel. But whatever. Maybe we will get a sequel to it one day. But the 88 remake of The Blob is fucking awesome. Actually, I have to go watch that sometime soon. Number 12 is the 1994 version of Frankenstein. The one with Robert De Niro as the monster. I think I've said this before. I don't think Boris Karloff ever got the chance to shine as the Frankenstein monster. I think the closest he ever came to that was Bride of Frankenstein, because Universal allowed him to speak. But in my opinion, the 94 version of Frankenstein is the best Frankenstein movie ever made. Robert De Niro is the best monster. The gore is at its very best. It's very fucking violent and very fucking gritty and very disturbing. Kenneth Branagh is the best Victor Frankenstein ever. I also think it just overall has the best production value. It sticks closest to the original novel. And overall, the 90s Frankenstein, I think, is an unsung masterpiece. Yes, Robert De Niro is an odd choice as the monster, but I think he does an exceptionally well job as the monster. He's very sympathetic. He plays the character very well. Even though Kenneth Branagh and Robert De Niro are the same height, I like how they showed that there's a significant height difference, and they actually made it work, even with Robert De Niro being Robert De Niro. Now, and Colin Clive never did much for me as Henry Frankenstein. I just kind of feel like, again, with Karloff, he never got the chance to shine. But the 90s remake of Frankenstein is the best Frankenstein movie ever made. Yes, Robert De Niro is odd, but he still did it very well. At number 11 is the 2006 remake of The Hills Have Eyes. Wes Craven's second movie he ever made was the original Hills Have Eyes from 1977. Was not impressed. It's very dated in the 70s. It stinks of almost being a Texas Chainsaw Massacre ripoff, also because it reused a lot of the same props from Texas Chainsaw Massacre. Bad dubbing, bad audio quality, bad acting. The original Hills Have Eyes has potential, but really does not do much for me. I actually think it's one of Wes Craven's weakest movies. The 2006 remake, on the other hand, another Alexandre Aja film, updates the original, gives it a modern twist, but doesn't make it feel like it's dated in modern times. Well, actually, it kind of does a little bit, but it doesn't do it so bad where it's going to age poorly. I've never seen anybody come out and say that they think the 2006 remake of The Hills Have Eyes is bad. But I'm going to come out and say I think it is infinitely better than the original. Better special effects, way better special effects. Yeah, Greg Nicotero doing your effects. Come on now. Better acting, better characters, more intense sequences. It works It works better as a horror movie. Better music, better traps. It's just a better movie. It's also one of those remakes where it does copy some scenes from the movie, but it still makes it its own thing while still clearly being The Hills Have Eyes. Just avoid the sequel, The Hills Have Eyes 2, from I think it was 2009. That movie's trash. The first one is amazing, though. It also has a good cast, too. So yeah, check out the remake of The Hills Have Eyes. I think that's a damn fine movie. And number 10, I've already talked about this one, so I'm just going to breeze right through it, is the 2009 Friday the 13th. Love it. I think it is infinitely better than the original. I think it's better than 1, 2, and 4. It's slightly better than Part 3 because I do like Part 3, but I enjoy Friday the 13th, 2009 the most of all the Friday the 13th movies, and I think it is the best of the franchise. Coming in at number 9 is the 2003 remake of the Texas Chainsaw Massacre. A lot of people seem to say that the 2003 Texas Chainsaw Massacre was the movie that kick-started the remake craze for horror movies throughout the 2000s, and it kind of died out in 2012 or so. I still think it's going on to this day, but whatever. And I kind of have to agree. Even though there were remakes before this of horror movies, hell, you had the 98 remake of Psycho, of course. You had the 2000 version of Hollow Man, which that almost made this list, but I think that's a great movie. I think that 2003 Texas Chainsaw Massacre movie is also the best. No. Yeah, I'd probably say it's the best of the franchise. It's not my favorite. That's Texas Chainsaw 3D. That movie is so miserably bashed. But Texas Chainsaw 03, I think, is an unsung masterpiece. It updates the original for modern times and gives it the justice that it deserved. I don't like the original Texas Chainsaw Massacre. It is super dated, really bad audio, super low budget. There's no gore, or not much gore. There's not that many kills. Really bad acting. I mean, really, 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 really bad acting. I just think it's trash. I'm sorry. And the 03 version makes it something worthwhile. Better effects, a much better Leatherface, a much better Psycho family. You have R. Lee fucking Ermey as a psychotic sheriff. Holy shit. Aside from Leatherface, he's the highlight of the movie. May he rest in peace, too. Arlie Ermy is awesome as the sheriff in Texas Chainsaw 03. The gore is better. The characters are better. The acting is way better. 03 Texas Chainsaw, I just think, is, again, an unsung masterpiece. Yes, it may have kickstarted the remake craze, but at least you have a good one to kickstart it. Coming in at number 8 is the 2010 remake of The Wolfman. I also think this is an unsung masterpiece, and I think it's a damn shame that the movie flopped at the box office. It made $130 million against a $150 million budget. I think a good majority of that was blown on the cast, but whatever. I haven't heard anyone come out and outright and say that they think the 2010 remake is bad, but some people have criticized it for being what it is. I think it's a great movie. There's lots of gore. Oh my god, the kills in 2010 remake of The Wolfman. The kills in the movie are fucking amazing. The cast is really good. The music is really good. The atmosphere and creepiness to it is really good. It feels like a Universal horror movie, just made in modern times with gore. I will agree with one criticism that Benicio, however the hell you say his name, Benicio del Toro, he's okay as Larry Talbot. I feel like a lot of times he doesn't feel like he's acting. The only times when he feels like he's acting is when he's in pain or when he's angry. But outside of that, I feel like some of his acting is really deadpan in a lot of the film. But aside from that, the 2010 remake is awesome. Again, great kills, great gore, really good special effects. Rick Baker won his second Academy Award for his second werewolf movie for The Wolfman, the original, of course, being An American Werewolf in London, which was also a Universal movie. Fantastic kills, and you have Anthony Hopkins playing a werewolf. How can you go wrong? I love the 2010 remake of The Wolfman. I think it's a masterpiece. At number 7, we have Night of the Living Dead, 1990. I think I've talked about this one quite a bit. Of course, I'm also going to save my thoughts on it because I actually will be reviewing it soon. But the 90s remake of Night of the Living Dead is, once again, in my opinion, the superior film. It takes the concept of Night of the Living Dead. Now, I don't think the original Night of the Living Dead is bad. I do like the film. I find it to be very overrated, but again, I'm going to save my thoughts on that. But the 90s remake of Night of the Living Dead is, again, one of those remakes where it took the concept from the original, gave it a bigger budget, and gave it the justice that it deserved. And not to mention, it had a lot of people from the original working on the remake. George Romero co-wrote the script. He didn't direct. That was Tom Savini. But you had a lot of the same people, cast and crew, working on the remake from the original Night of the Living Dead. That's awesome. Anytime it's very rare, but anytime that happens where a remake is worked on by some of its original creators, I also think that shows humility, or not really humility, but like shows that people are humble, where they can come out and say, okay, my first movie's good, but I think we can do better a second time. And that's what they do. They're not disrespecting the original whatsoever. That's what the 2006 Night of the Living Dead does to the original Night of the Living Dead. But Tom Savini did a fantastic job remaking Night of the Living Dead. Better cast, better effects, better characters, better zombie action. It's just a better movie, and especially a better ending. I love the 90s remake. One of my favorites of all time. At number 6, King Kong 05. I've talked about this enough. Let's move on. King Kong 05 is a masterpiece. At number 5 is the 2004 remake of Dawn of the Dead. Another George Romero movie. I don't know if George Romero had any involvement with the remake of Dawn of the Dead. Actually, no, I'm pretty sure he didn't because I remember him criticizing it a little bit, but saying he liked it. I love Zack Snyder's Dawn of the Dead. I think in every single way it is better than the original. Better characters, better effects, uh, way better effects, better zombies. Overall, the '04 remake of Dawn of the Dead is a masterpiece. I've never seen anyone come out and say that's bad, but I think it is a goddamn masterpiece. One of my all-time favorite zombie movies, and easily one of my all-time favorite films ever. At number 4, Rob Zombie's Halloween. Again, I've talked about this one quite a bit. I'll just say it's unjustly shit on. It's got a couple problems, yes, I know. But god damn it, I love Rob Zombie's Halloween so fucking much. It's one of my favorite horror movies. It's one of my all-time favorite movies. If I was to meet Rob Zombie, I would say, you know what, the stuff you do with 31 and the Lords of Salem and the Devil's Rejects, that's all well and good. Yeah, I know. Zack Snyder's new zombie movie for Netflix. I'm looking forward to that. When's it going to come out? I would say to Rob Zombie, look, I'm a supporter for Halloween. For Rob Zombie's Halloween 1 and 2, I'm a supporter. I love Rob Zombie's Halloween. I don't care what anyone says. At number 3 is the 2017 remake of It. I know it's part 1 of 2, but goddamn it, It 2017 is such a good movie. It's not even funny. It ditches Rape Eyes Tim Curry. It ditches the TV miniseries rules. It ditches the bad cast. It just ditches the 90s version and goes for a straight up adaptation of King's book. Yes, it leaves out some elements, thank God, like the sewer scene. But honestly, the fact that the movie ditches Tim Curry right off the bat earns it a 10 out of 10 for me. But It 2017 is a fucking masterpiece. Definitely one of those movies where if a definitive top 10 list of the best remakes ever made was to be done, if It 2017 wasn't on it, I think that would be a crime against humanity. At number 2 is the 1999 version of The Mummy. I like the original Mummy, don't get me wrong. Fuck Tim Curry. Just fuck him. I like the original Mummy. But damn it, Brendan Fraser's The Mummy from 1999, I think it's a goddamn masterpiece. That should have been the beginning of the Universal Cinematic Universe. Finally, somebody else is a fan of the Mummy. Yes, it is one of those movies I grew up with, but damn it, I love it so much. It doesn't shit on the original Mummy. It pays respects to it. It pays a few homages to it. It updates the lore. It updates the story in a very good way. The 1999 version of The Mummy, I think, is a goddamn masterpiece. That should have been where the Universal's Dark Universe should start. Actually, I think that's what they should do. They should acknowledge The Mummy as the beginning of the Dark Universe. Same with the 2010 remake of The Wolfman. And Dracula Untold, if you want. But the 99 version of The Mummy, masterpiece. And coming in at number 1, my all-time favorite remake of all time is also my all-time favorite horror movie. John Carpenter's The Thing. That's my favorite remake. Is it really? Damn. I still haven't seen the 2017 version of The Mummy, so I wouldn't know. That could just be an Easter egg. John Carpenter's remake of The Thing. I need to review those movies sometime very soon, but I don't like John Carpenter. I've said this before. I don't like his style of directing. I don't like Halloween. I don't like a lot of his movies, but he struck gold with the 82 version of The Thing. Masterpiece. Great cast, great effects, great scares, great pacing, great music. Overall, John Carpenter's The Thing. It's one of my favorite movies of all time. It's my favorite horror movie of all time. It's also my favorite remake of all time. Holy fuck, do I love John Carpenter's The Thing. I could sit down and watch it anytime, any day, and still be thoroughly entertained all the way through. So, wow, this video wasn't as long as I thought it was going to be. So, just to go through the list again, at number 15 is The Fugitive, 14, Piranha 3D, 13, The Blob, 12, Frankenstein 1994, 11, The Hills Have Eyes, 10, Friday the 13th, 9, Texas Chainsaw Massacre, 8, The Wolfman 2010, 7, Night of the Living Dead 1990, 6, King Kong 05, 5, Dawn of the Dead 04, 4, Halloween Rob Zombies Halloween, 3, It 2017, 2, The Mummy 99, and 1 is John Carpenter's The Thing. Love them to death. Those are my favorite remakes of all time. So post your comments down below. Let me know what you think. Hit the like button and hit the subscribe button. And share this video with your friends. And as always, remember, Tim Curry is not a good actor. Bye-bye.